Land Rover are always looking to try something innovative. Their philosophy to create unique vehicles and shape the future has brought us cars such as the Range Rover Velar, the Discovery, the Defender, and the Evoque. All cars that served a different purpose at the time. However, when you are constantly trying to innovate, a lot of concepts are made. Some may be good, some may be bad, and some may just need a few tweaks to be something amazing. In today's video, we are going to look at 5 Land Rover vehicles that could have gone into production. First up, we have the Discovery Vision. Announced in 2014 in New York City. You may look at this car and assume that it is the Discovery 5. And whilst the external design is almost identical, the interior was a lot more futuristic. However, the real difference between the market Discovery 5 and this concept car are the features. This car was going to have a remote control feature which would allow you to drive the car at low speeds without even being in it. It was going to have a laser terrain scanning which would draw a map of the terrain and upcoming objects in real time on the center console screen. It was going to feature the smart glass feature, but with a transparent bonnet, allowing you to see through your car, essentially making you invisible. It was going to feature suicide doors. It was going to feature social seating, so your boot could turn into a bench. The Discovery 5 is a great car, but this concept would have been one of the most futuristic cars out there. Next up, we have the Land Rover LRX. Announced in 2008, this was the concept that turned into the Evoque. There are less differences between concept and reality in this case, however there were a few significant changes. Firstly, the badge. This car was originally meant to be a Land Rover, but on reflection they felt it would fit better in the Range Rover family due to its sophisticated design and probable price point. They also cut out a display feature which made the dash look like it was 3D and floating, which in principle sounds cool, but probably would have been a bit distracting on the road. The final major visual change was the seating. In the LRX, they were meant to be individual seats to make the car much more spacious and airy. However, this was changed to a more standard seating option. The only real mechanical difference was the removal of a hybrid powertrain in place of a more traditional one. However, on the second generation Evoque, a hybrid powertrain was offered. The Evoque, for the most part, stayed very respectful to the ideas and design of the LRX, whilst in its own way creating its own identity. Thirdly, we have the precursor to the Range Rover Sport, the Range Stormer. This was introduced in 2004 and was the first car that really showed a real change in design direction. It was truly a statement piece, with the supercar butterfly doors, the sporty bodywork with the sloping roof, the minimalist interior with the standalone seating. This concept car didn't just look different from the Range at the time, it was also filled with technology, including the now infamous terrain response system. The Range Rover Sport in comparison is not as exciting, but more practical and classy. It had a much larger wheelbase, 4 doors instead of 2 butterfly ones, a more refined and welcoming interior. The only downgrade to the car was the engine, as the top speed of the Stormer was a whopping 180 miles an hour, whereas the Sport only claimed 130. This Stormer was great to show Land Rover were changing and ready for the new era of cars, but in all honesty, the Range Rover Sport was probably the better option for the market. Next up, in 2011, we have what was meant to be the replacement for the Defender. Introducing the Defender Concept 100, the DC100. Unlike all of the previous three, this was not a popular concept. However, when we compare it to the 2020 Defender 9 years later, they are very similar cars. And whilst the 2020 Defender had its doubters, overall it got quite a positive reception. So why was this concept hated in 2011? Jerry McGovern, Director of Design for Land Rover, said, "Replacing the iconic Defender is one of the biggest challenges in the automotive design world. It is a car that inspires people worldwide. The DC100 isn't a production-ready concept, but the beginning of a 4-year journey to design a relevant Defender for the 21st century." Perhaps this is it. People weren't ready to move on from the classic. Humans are creatures of habit. We like what we like, and change is difficult. Had this car been marketed as anything other than a Defender replacement, perhaps it would have took off in 2015 when it was planned to release. The concept car, along with its sport version, both were based on the same shared 100-inch wheelbase. They featured sustainable high-tech materials and the latest technology to optimize fuel and operational efficiency at all times, and in all modes, and in all driving conditions. They had a variety of technologies, including a terrain eye scanning device to warn of obstacles when off-road, wade-aid sonar technology to assess water depth, and of course, Land Rover Terrain Response System. This was not a failed concept. It just needed time and a little bit of work to smooth out the rough edges. The last one on our list, whilst not a traditional Land Rover, is technically a Land Rover. Jaguar Land Rover announced in 2020 Project Vector, the future of urban mobility. This is part of the company's Destination Zero, a focus towards achieving a future of zero emissions, zero accidents, and zero congestion. JLR state on their website, "The compact, flexible vehicle concept measures just 4 meters in length and is designed for the city, packaging all its battery and powertrain components into a flat floor to allow a variety of uses. The revolutionary interior cabin space allows seating configurations for private or shared use, and even the opportunity for commercial applications, such as last-mile deliveries. The car has autonomous features, so by integrating AI and machine learning, it should be safer and more efficient. The grand scheme of this concept is to integrate into future smart cities infrastructure, allowing for the most efficient transport network ever. However, this was announced in 2020 and was due for trials in Coventry in 2021, but nothing has been heard since the initial launch. This may be due to the pandemic, so keep your eyes peeled for this car very soon. So, what did you think of these 5 concept cars? Would you have preferred them to what we got instead? Or do you think that Land Rover made the right decisions? Let us know in the comments, and of course, like and subscribe for more content.